Hi guys, it's Hannah, and we're going to be talking about the
Maleah Davis case today.
There's not a lot of information that's come out on it, but it's been over 2 weeks, and this case just pisses me off, and I wanted to talk about it, so let's get into it.
Maleah Davis is 4 years old, and she is just the cutest little girl. Just looks like the sweetest little girl. Her parents were Brittany Bowens and Craig Davis. Up until her disappearance, Maleah lived with her mother as well as her mother's boyfriend, whose name is Darian Vence.
It's evident that her biological father was present in her life because he posted a series of photos on Instagram following her brain surgery. One of them,
Maleah had received a head injury from falling off a chair at her dining room table.
the previous year, Maleah was removed from her home with her 2 brothers because of alleged abuse. Maleah's grandmother, Brittany's mother, came home one evening and actually urged them to take Maleah to the hospital because she had fallen from a chair and sustained pretty serious injuries that didn't necessarily correlate with that, and therefore it was a little suspicious. Hence the child abuse allegations. So the surgeries that she had following this brain trauma were to help heal because she had apparently hit her head so hard that she had had health effects. 5 days later, she would endure a seizure. Then she would be taken to Children's Hospital and she would have a CT scan where they would discover there was in fact bleeding in the left side of her brain. And at that point, they knew that they had to perform surgeries in order to save her life. Later that month, Child Protective Services did place Maleah and her 2 brothers with relatives as they felt the home might be unsafe for possibly good reason. It's a little suspicious that this happened, although I know accidents happen and babies are clumsy. So this past February, the children were released to go back home. So at this point, they were living with Brittany, and they were also living with their stepfather, or soon-to-be stepfather, Brittany's fiance, Darian Vence. So this man is the main suspect in the case, but originally he was not suspected to have had a role in the disappearance. If we want to go back to the beginning, the string of events, the thing that eventually arguably caused this was Brittany and Darian's ending of their engagement. And it seems like it was mainly Brittany's idea, so this might be a motive. I was even thinking from the beginning that Darian would want to get rid of something that Brittany really cared about because Brittany got rid of him. And Brittany was something that he really cared about. So this all starts on Tuesday, April 30th. So Maleah's mother left Darian in charge of her children because she obviously trusted him enough to take care of them while she went to Massachusetts for her father's funeral. Tuesday, April 30th to Saturday, May 4th, everything seems fine. I don't believe Brittany thinks anything is going on. Come Saturday, May 4th, the 3 children that they had were Maleah, which was not his biological daughter. They had another son, which was also not his biological daughter, but they did have one son that they had had together. So on Saturday, May 4th, Darian and his son, his biological son with Brittany, as well as Maleah, were all going to the airport to pick up Brittany from the funeral, from her father's funeral in Massachusetts. However, they never made it to the airport. And that night, May 4th, around 10 to 11 p.m., Darian arrived at Houston Methodist Hospital and he told authorities that he had been attacked and that Maleah had been abducted. He told them the whole story, that he was on the way to the airport and that he heard popping sounds, and he pulled over to check if he had a flat tire, and as he was doing this, 3 men got out of their truck and approached him. And he said they were Hispanic. I guess when they made an encounter, one of the men said that Maleah looked very nice and very sweet, which is creepy. I don't know why Darian would say this, because as we get further into the case, this part doesn't seem like it actually happened. It seems like this is made up. Is that a spoiler alert? Sorry. Anyways, he says that those guys knocked him out and that when he woke up, he remembers being in the back of a truck and that he was with his children and then he passed out again. But otherwise, he really didn't remember anything except that the captors had dropped him and his son off at Sugarland on Highway 6 and that they had just taken Maleah with them. And when I was first following this case, I thought that was weird to begin with, that they just took Maleah, which I guess does make sense if it was like a human trafficking thing and they just wanted a girl. But it was just weird. I would think that they would maybe take both children. I don't know. It's just weird that...
Also, it makes sense that Maleah would be the only one to disappear because Darian didn't really have any blood in Maleah, but the son that he did have biologically was still alive.
Says that he literally claimed he couldn't remember anything other than like waking up and passing out, as if they drugged him. So after they got dropped off on the side of the highway, Darian said he and his son walked along the highway for 4 hours and nobody stopped to help them, and they eventually made their way to the hospital. Officials had said that when they got to the hospital, his son was in good health. When Darian was giving the police all of his statements, he had stated that his car had been stolen during the attack. When nobody picked up Brittany, she just called her mom to pick her up, which it's kind of weird that she didn't contact authorities after returning to Houston when she couldn't find her kids. But we'll talk about that later. On Sunday, May 5th, an Amber Alert was issued for Maleah, and they made it very clear that she had had several brain surgeries, that she was not in perfectly fine health condition, that she needed to be found immediately. Every child needs to be found immediately, but she might have a seizure. She needs, she might need medication. I'm not really sure. But it was very urgent. And time is of the essence. Like, you need to, every 24 hours, every hour that goes by, the likelihood of finding a person goes down. They held a press conference this day talking about the details of Maleah's disappearance as well.
There is a desperate search tonight for a missing 4-year-old girl in Houston. Volunteers are now joining Houston police at this hour, looking for Maleah Davis, who needs special medical care. Her stepfather says she was abducted by 3 men in a pickup truck after he says they were targeted on the highway. ABC's Maggie Rulli is in Texas tonight.
Tonight, the search for 4-year-old Maleah Davis intensifying outside Houston.
I just want to find Maleah. I just want to find Maleah.
She requires constant care after multiple brain surgeries. Maleah's stepfather, Darian Vence, says he was driving with Maleah and her 2-year-old half-brother to pick up Maleah's mother at the airport when he stopped to check a tire. He says that's when a blue pickup, similar to this one, pulled up.
2 Hispanic males get out. One of them makes a comment saying that Maleah looks very nice, looks very sweet. The other male hits Darian in the head.
He says he was beaten unconscious, waking up on the side of this highway nearly 24 hours later on Saturday night. His 2-year-old with him, but his car and Maleah gone.
We'd love the public to help us so we can fill in the blanks in this story.
When Darian had gotten to the hospital, he did have cuts and bruises on his face, which, I mean, a real liar will self-inflict wounds like that. Like, I just remember, I'm such a basic bitch. Like, I remember on The Bachelorette or The Bachelor a few years ago, some girl literally gave herself a black eye and told The Bachelor that, like, some girl had punched her in the face. And I was just like, people are crazy. And, like, I truly believe that that's not a big deal. He could just hit himself in the face, like, with a car door. And, like, it wouldn't be anything compared to, like, serving life in prison for him. That's, like, in a crazy person's mind, like, the price they're willing to pay. So, honestly, it's not crazy. But he did have, like, evidence of the wounds. This day they also released the video of the traffic cameras showing the vehicle, which was a 2011 Nissan Altima, about 3 p.m. in Sugar Land on Saturday. And on this day, Maleah's loved ones were handing out flyers and doing everything they could to find her because, again, time is of the essence. On Monday, May 6th, volunteers started to go out and search for Maleah, and they began their search on foot and on ATV.
From riding four-wheelers to walking through thick brush with sticks, Texas EquiSearch volunteers started combing these woods just off the East Tex Freeway as soon as Houston police asked them for help.
And all the while, they were searching near the area where Darian said that his car had gone missing, which, that was a lie. We'll get to that soon. Brittany's mother, Brenda, then talked on camera, and she seemed pretty sincere. I am not that great at judging people. I don't know how I would act if I was, like, on live television missing someone, so I don't really like to judge people in that circumstance unless they're being, like, super weird. but she seems fairly concerned.
I don't know. I'm so overwhelmed also. I mean, I will tell you, she's a very brave little girl. Being that is this on? Okay, being that the surgery she's had, she is strong. And I know if she's listening to this, I want you to know that Nana loves you. And I promised to take you to Lake Charles, and I still want to do that. I want to fulfill my promise that I told you the other day. And I miss you and I love you. Nana's coming for you.
So I think Tuesday, May 7th was a little bit of a turning point. Search efforts were shifted because they didn't find anything in the original area where he had said his car had gone missing. And investigators were honestly starting to get a little suspicious of his story because they weren't finding any clues, any evidence whatsoever, and they were just confused. There was also severe weather in the area, so they had to halt the searches until Wednesday. And Wednesday, May 8th, they had a court order put into place that banned Brittany and Darian from seeing Maleah's other siblings. So at this point, it looks as if the state of Texas is pointing a finger or looking suspiciously at both of these parents. And I'm not sure how Craig, Maleah's biological father, is feeling at this point, but I'd be suspicious. I'd be pissed. I'd be like, where's my kid? Like, what the hell? Because if the state of Texas is like banning the people that were looking after her from seeing her, then that's a little weird. So those two younger kids, which were two younger boys, went into the custody of family members. And apparently this order was the result of Brenda, Brittany's mother, saying something about there being problems in the household, as well as the Department of Family and Protective Services. So these two reports came together and provided enough credibility that these two were not competent to handle this child, obviously, and I believe the state probably just like nudged them and said, come on, speed this process along. They literally just lost a child and we need to stop them from having custody of other children right now. Thursday, May 9th, an owner of the daycare that Maleah attended said that Maleah had not been seen by her since April 26th. On May 3rd, she had had Maleah's younger brother in her daycare, and Darian later came to pick him up, but Maleah was not with him, which was a little odd. And during this day, even though there were very wet and muddy conditions, the search and rescue teams continued their efforts because there's really, what are you going to do? Just like sit around? I feel like they just felt like they had to do something right then. It's been quite a few days and things are getting more and more grim by the hour, by the day. And this day was a big one. This morning of this day, they found Darian's car in a strip mall parking lot. And police went ahead and searched the vehicle because it was the only piece of evidence they had at that point as to where Maleah might have went. They found a laundry basket inside of it and a can of gasoline. That day, it had also been revealed that Child Protective Services had taken Maleah into their custody the previous year due to concerns of her living conditions at home. On Friday, May 10th, it was revealed to the media that Brittany and Darian had ended their engagement because Brittany was very suspicious of Darian having some involvement with the incident, obviously, with the fact that Maleah was missing. Friday, May 10th, things got crazier, which I know they're already like pretty wild, but like buckle your seatbelts, okay?
So let me go over some of it one more time. There is a video camera at the top of the stairwell that a neighbor owns. Police were able to recover the footage of that video. In that video, it shows the stepdad after mother had left the city. It shows the stepdad coming out while walking back into the apartment complex with a big bottle of Clorox that he had just bought. Then it shows him coming out with a bottle of Clorox, a big laundry bag, and a black garbage bag stuffed inside the laundry container that he was carrying out of the home. It was strange when he told the mother he was cleaning the house with Clorox, for there was no reason for him to be cleaning the house with Clorox. They already had a small thing of Clorox in the house, but he felt it was necessary to clean the house with Clorox. We know for a fact that police did take forensic evidence out of the apartment that indicates a crime took place inside that apartment.
Do you know the nature of that evidence?
I know that they tested for blood samples, human tissue samples. We also have a container inside the apartment that they left where they were testing for blood and luminol in the place. And it is true that they did find physical evidence. Also, let me be clear. We believe what started this was when the mother discovered him sending pictures of his private parts to another man. He was sending pictures of his penis to another man. The mother confronted him about it. He got angry. She wouldn't talk to him anymore when she left that day to go to Massachusetts. The mother told him that she was not going to return his ring, and that she was returning his ring. She didn't want to marry him. The mother informed him it was over. And he subsequently said some very disturbing things via text messages that the mother needs to share with law enforcement. And also, once again, the mother did confront him about physically whooping young Maleah when she was sick. No longer a person of interest. This man needs to be captured.
So after Brittany found out that he was sending inappropriate photos to another person, she was not going to marry this man. And people say that this made him snap. He was angry and he wanted to take Maleah away because he knew that Brittany would really be sad. And she is. This day, the neighborhood security camera where Darian and Brittany live was reviewed, and Darian was seen carrying a trash bag out and bottles of bleach the day that he was supposedly attacked, which is weird. And Saturday, May 11th, Darian was finally arrested on charges of evidence tampering because after they had found his car and looked inside of it, they found what they thought to be decomposing human remains. The police had found blood in the apartment that linked Darian directly to the scene of the crime because it was Maleah's blood. And he was in jail at a $1 million bond. However, his bond would later go down. Sunday, May 12th, which was Mother's Day. Really, really sad. Horrible time for this to be happening. And I just remember trying to enjoy Mother's Day, trying to be with my mom and have fun and stuff. And I just felt so bad for this woman who's literally missing one of her only children, who's missing a child on Mother's Day. They were checking the DNA samples that they had found in the home, the blood, and it matched that was on Maleah's toothbrush. So the blood DNA matched her saliva DNA, which is the same. Monday, May 13th, the court date of Darian was set to be somewhere in July, probably July 10th. So even though everyone seemingly knew that Darian had involvement, everyone was still pointing a finger at Brittany because she knew seemingly that he was not a safe parental guardian for Maleah to be around. However, she still allowed her to be around him. And people were screaming and protesting at her literally the day after Mother's Day about her daughter being missing. And I'm sure hindsight is 2020. She wishes she could not have put her daughter in his hands even for that time that she felt like she needed to. I feel like there probably were other options for sure, but she didn't think that this man that she once loved, that had taken care of her child before, would do this. And I mean, we haven't found a body, so we haven't found anything showing that she's deceased, which at this point people aren't hoping that much for her to have a safe return. They're just hoping to find her remains because things aren't looking too good. On Wednesday, May 15th, this last Wednesday, the search was suspended because they needed more tips on where to look for her. They weren't necessarily sure, and it's not really wise to keep wasting resources just looking in random spots, I guess. Volunteers had just recently looked at the mail route that Darian had previously run because he once literally said it would be an ideal place to hide a corpse. Creepy, right? He actually told his mother-in-law, which is Brenda, if I ever murder someone, I can dump a body there that will never be found on his mail route. That's very sus, right? Sus. I also just want to say this case literally reminds me, I hate saying his name. It's like Voldemort. I don't want to say it. Chris Watts, it reminds me of him because it's so, like, they're so dumb. Like, they just think that they can be like, oh yeah, like, some Mexican guys came up and, like, took us all, and, like, just, like, with no, not even thinking, like, maybe the police will pursue this. The police are just gonna be like, oh well, they ran off, like, whoop-de-doo, like Chris Watts, like, he thought that his kids would just, like, disappear, and no one would, like, keep looking for them. Like, everyone would just be like, well, we did all we could, you know? Like, wish we could have found them, but, like, that's just so stupid. Like, you just have to be in such, like, a mental fog to think you can get away with that. But, I don't know, not that much has been released, basically. They brought cadaver dogs in, and they confirmed that there is a scent of a dead body within the car that he supposedly had stolen from him, even though he just parked it in a parking lot. And as far as this case goes, there's not really anything else. They haven't found any remains. We basically just had the cadaver dogs confirm that there was human decomposition in the car, which is really sad. And I'm just glad that this guy is in jail, and I hope that he never gets out, because anyone who thinks that that is okay to bring a small child into a situation to extract revenge somehow is, like, messed up, you know? I just hope that her mother can get some peace, and I hope that hopefully she's not abusive in any way, shape, or form, and that she can hopefully get custody of her children back and have a good life with them. That's all I have to talk about for today, but I will keep you updated because this is, like, new. There's, like, updates happening pretty much daily. So thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter to probably hear some updates. I'll probably be, like, retweeting stuff. So, bye guys.